Hello again. So I just want to let you guys know before we get started today that this video was actually supposed to go up before the last video I did before I showed like the visual aspect of each of the cameras and shooting in each of the cameras and showing it. But things kind of got a little mixed up, I guess, with the video files, and on my computer it ended up being corrupted, so I had to reshoot it, and I didn't have time that night to edit and do anything else to the video and get it up. So I just released the second video first, and then this one I'm going to release next. So yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a little heads up. So today's video is going to be on Facebook finds. So these are cameras that I had purchased on Facebook for really good deals. I no longer have the listings anymore. I wasn't ever planning on making a video like this, and these cameras are already a few years old. Well, to me, they're a few years old. They're actually quite old. Two of them are actually 10 years old, but they do take pretty good video quality. So these are just Facebook finds that I have. I do like to check Facebook every day and see the marketplace and see if there's any deals going on in my area. And if I see something that I think is worth picking up, I'll run down there and get it. And cameras is one of my passions, to own cameras, to collect cameras, I guess you'd say. I would be a camera collector. But yeah, so I saw these cameras. I had a lot more before, and I do still have quite a bit more. But these are just the ones that I use mostly. Well, two of them I use. The other one I don't really use, the Nikon. I don't really use the Nikon, but I'm planning on using it a little more now because I'm going to make a couple modifications to it, and I'll go over it then when I get to that camera. So to start this video off, we're going to talk about the first camera that I got, and then that's the Sony Nex 5. So that's this camera right here, the Sony Nex 5 mirrorless camera. This is a really good camera. It was originally sold back in 2000. It was released in 2010 in Japan, and it hit the US shores about a year later in 2011, September, I believe. And this camera is actually a really good camera. It was a mirrorless camera back then, and it was just like something that was unbelievable at the time, that such a compact camera can take such crisp photos. And in fact, I don't know how true this is, but just from my personal view, I didn't see any other cameras actually doing this technology, this compact mirrorless technology for DSLRs. And at the time, until a couple years later, Canon came out with theirs, and then eventually Nikon came out with theirs. But these cameras are really good. I don't know if Sony was the first to actually do this or not, so don't quote me on that. But this Sony Alpha line actually sold for quite a bit back in the day. Originally, when these cameras first came out, this camera was $700 for this small little camera. But you know, if you were heavy into photography and video at the time, this was a really good camera. So I ended up buying this on Facebook a couple years ago, maybe like about 2014 or 2015. I bought this for $100 on Facebook, and it came with this, and it came with the flash, which I have stored away. I never use the flash. The flash goes in here, right up here in the top here. The flash goes there. And HDMI out and USB. The USB is mainly for transfer and updating the firmware. That's pretty much it. But yeah, other than that, the camera was actually in pretty rough shape when I first got it. You can see there's, you can't really see it on the camera, but there's like scratches all over the body. But the main thing was that the camera did work. It functioned properly. And like even the back screen, you see all of that on the back screen. All those scratches were already on there. So they didn't put a screen protector on this. And it seems like they just threw it in a bag and it was just rattling around in there. And unfortunately, I don't know what kind of glass this is. I haven't been able to polish any of this out. I tried several times with different abrasives to no avail. So I don't know what kind of glass this is that it's not polishing. I thought there was a screen protector on here, but apparently it's a laminate over the glass. I did try to peel it up. I don't know if you can see in this corner, it's a little light. I tried to peel that laminate up, and it actually chipped a piece off. I was like, okay, yeah. So yeah, that's not good for the screen, so I just left it. But other than that, this camera does take really good videos. This is my go everywhere kind of camera. I'm planning on actually leaving this in my car. I did update the firmwares recently because the biggest problem with this camera was the battery. The battery would drain even though the camera was off. But I didn't know that, around the time I bought this camera, that there was a firmware update that had remedied that situation. It had fixed the battery drain issue, and it even updated the menus and everything, so all the menus are up to date. This thing does take really, really awesome video. It has the HD AVC HD right there. That AVC HD is, I forget what kind of file format it is traditionally, but it takes really crisp, clean, sorry about that, almost movie quality photos. And sorry, I had to cut off there. I was getting a phone call. But yeah, almost movie quality photos this will take with the AVC HD. But the problem is that AVC HD is a really fickle format. Like, you need to have a certain program to actually use it, and usually those programs cost a lot of money. I did have success using Pinnacle. My dad had like an old Pinnacle program from about this time, and I just borrowed it one day and I used it, and I could actually get it to work on that, and like the video quality was amazing. But like, spending money on a editing program like that, it isn't like something I'm into right now. I just like to do quick little videos and not spend a lot of time editing. One of the downsides to this camera is it doesn't have a microphone input, so you can't do external audio. There is a proprietary mic that actually goes in here, but the quality it's okay. It's okay. This does have like a dual microphone on the top. You see the L and R, so that's a dual channel microphone, and it actually records very good stereo when you're talking to the camera, but anything far away you're not going to pick up. But these onboard mics are actually pretty good, pretty decent at picking up audio, so these kinds of cameras is good for like video vlogging, or if you're shooting stuff like this. I have to shoot in MP4 most of the time because that's the video format my computer knows, and even with that, the video quality still comes out pretty nice. It's not as crisp and clean as the AVC HD, which is like movie quality video from this camera, this small little camera, which is amazing. But the AVC HD it's not a common format, so people don't really use it too often, and you can only record in small little increments with that. Like, if you record something long, good luck, it's going to take forever to process. I recorded like a 2 minute, or like, I think it was like a minute and 30-second video, and it was not like, it took forever. It took almost like 40 minutes to get it onto the Pinnacle program. So yeah, but apparently you can if you figure out how to use the AVC HD, you can actually shoot Blu-ray quality video, so you get the HD 1080p quality videos with this camera, which is really a decent camera for 2010. The retail was a little expensive at the time. Like I said, it was like $700 when it first came out, and I don't think anybody was really willing to drop that on this camera because they didn't really know anything about it. But these cameras are actually a pretty good sleeper camera. Like, the quality still holds up to this very day, and they're actually very cheap, like on eBay and on Facebook Marketplace. They're generally $100 and below. Normally you won't get this lens with them though. I think this is an aftermarket lens, or it was in the higher end lens kit, because the original lens was about half this size. But this lens ended up coming with this camera, so I paid $100 on Facebook Marketplace for this camera, the Sony Nex5 2010. Just plain Jane Nex 5. There's other Sony Nex 5s. I would try to get maybe the later models of the Nex 5, like the Nex 5N or the Nex 5R, because one of the downsides to the original Nex 5 is this screen can only do this. That's as far as it goes. It can't go up anymore, and it can also do this, where it can tilt downwards at an angle, which I don't know why you would need that. I guess for like shooting like this. But yeah, that's as far as the screen goes. It doesn't tilt all the way up. But on the Sony Nex 5N and the Sony Nex 5R, this screen will actually fold all the way up, so you can do vlogging this way, where the screen will be right here. So if you see this camera for under $100, I would pick it up. But if you see the N, like the Sony Nex 5N or the Nex 5R, I would pick those over these because they're a little more updated. And I think the Nex 5R actually added an audio jack. I'm not too sure about that yet. I did see a little hack on how you can install your own audio jack on this, but I don't think I'm going to do that to this camera. Doesn't seem worth it. But it's a really good camera. Sony Nex 5, I still use this camera to this day for, it's my go around camera. I'll take it out and shoot video, or I'll shoot my kids like at the beach or at the water park or something like that. So great camera. So Sony Nex 5. So let's move on to the next camera. All right, so next we have here the Nikon D3100. So this camera I got for $50 on Facebook Marketplace. Let me adjust this. Matt's moving. So this is a Nikon 3100. I got this on Facebook Marketplace for $50. Now, originally the SD card slot was broken. It wasn't working. This one on the side here, and the owners didn't want it anymore. Every time you put it in, it would read an error. So what I ended up doing was going onto eBay and looking up how much a new memory card slot would cost, and it was only about like $15 if I remember correctly. And so I just ordered it, and it was actually really easy to replace the SD card thing. It was just a quick in and out solder job. It was kind of a pain though, taking the camera out. Taking the housing off, all the little screws was kind of a pain in the ass to get to the SD card slot, but you know, it was worth it. So all in all, like if you take into the cost of the part, I paid $50 on the marketplace for this camera, and $15. So yeah, $65 for a Nikon D3100. And so I'm planning on making some modifications to this camera. What I want to do is, I saw an easy way to add a headphone jack. That's one of the downsides to this camera, is it doesn't have a headphone jack. So right over here in the front there is a little microphone right here, and this is where the microphone is. So there's a little hack I saw where you can, or a little modification I saw where you can take off the back of this housing and you can access the wires for the microphone, and you can just put in an input jack there instead of the microphone, and then just get rid of this front facing microphone so you can have external audio on this, which is awesome. You know, it seems very simple. It's very easy to do. If I do end up doing that, I'll make a video on it. That's why I dug this camera out of the storage. Let's just do that. I bought it about maybe 4.5 years ago at this point. This one was also from 2010. So these two cameras, that and the Sony Nex 5, came out the same year. This was Nikon's compact camera, and this was Sony's compact camera. So you can see the difference between the two. But this is mirrorless, so. But yeah, so not really much to say about this camera. The video quality is okay. I mean, it's decent. If that's all you can afford or get, then yeah. I mean, it'll take decent video. The picture quality, though, I must say the stills are beautiful on this with this camera. They come out very clear, very crisp, nice imaging. So yeah, that's pretty much it about this camera. $50 plus $15, $65 for this camera altogether on Facebook Marketplace. So, well, Facebook Marketplace I paid $50, and then $15 for the part on eBay to repair. And yeah, that's one thing you guys should look for, is like broken cameras. If it seems like it's an easy fix, now you're not always going to get that. I did have some disasters where I purchased a camera thinking I could fix it, and I couldn't fix it. And that was like basically the older Rebel cameras, you know, the silver ones. One of them had a broken compact flash slot, and I was like, oh, that should be pretty easy to replace. It's not easy to replace a compact flash on one of those cameras. And we're going into SD card at the time anyway, so that was kind of a stupid move for me to buy that and try to repair it. It was a really dumb move. But other than that, yeah, that's going to be it for this Nikon camera. Let's move on to the next camera. Okay, so the next camera is going to be my Canon T5i. Now this camera is from 2013. It's actually a really good camera. I used to have the T3, not the T3i, but I used to have the T3, and I didn't really like the T3. It was kind of a shitty camera. I should have just spent the extra, I think it was like $150 or $130 more to get the T5i, because the regular T series cameras, not the T whatever I series cameras, they don't have this flip screen. It's just a fixed screen to the back. And this flip screen is really handy. Like, it's really handy to have that on there. And another thing is, a lot of the T series, the plain T series, not the TI series, Canon cameras, they don't have microphone inputs. This one does. And I love the fact that this has a mic input. So, right there, microphone. And it also has a controller. You can hook up a controller. But all in all, this is a good camera. For as old as it is, right now it's 2020. This is from 2013. This camera was released, and it's a really good camera. So I bought this on Facebook for $80, and it came with the camera, and there was nothing wrong with it. They made it clear to me when I purchased that there was nothing wrong with it. It came with the 55 to 250 kit lens, and it came with the, what is this one? 18 to 55 kit lens. So it came with these two lenses. It came with the battery charger, which I'm not going to show you guys, and it came with a camera bag too. This camera bag, they just gave it to me because I don't think they were going to use it anymore. Yeah, and it came with the charger and that. And then all the lens caps. It's rare that you find cameras on Facebook that actually have all the lens caps, but this one had all the lens caps. I think this one is a generic, though. It's kind of like cheaply made. It's not as good a quality as the other ones, but still came with a lens cap. This one I bought back in April. It was a little gift to myself for my birthday, and the reason why I bought it was because it was $80. I was actually eyeballing a Canon 60D at the time, like the 60D, because I used to have one and I sold it last year because I needed money, and then I wanted to get it again because I love that camera. The 60D was great, but in all honesty, I think this camera, quality wise, with the stills, the 60D and the movie quality is probably going to be better on the 60D, but this camera has way more features than the 60D, and it has the microphone. The 60D has the microphone too, but this is a later version of the Canon EOS Rebel T5, the TI series of cameras. So this one is a later version than the 60D. It's not on the same level as the 60D. The 60D is more like for like an intermediate level, like a medium level kind of usage, beginner to medium level. This is more like a straight beginner camera, and I think the features on this one outweighs the 60D features, so I just ended up pulling the trigger on this one, and it was a really good price. I couldn't say no, and it came with two lenses. The 60D was just the body. I would have to provide my own lens, which I do. I have Canon lenses lying around, so. But anyways, this is a really good camera. I paid $80 for all of this and the bag, the charger, and the battery and everything. Probably the best deal I ever got so far on Facebook Marketplace was this setup right here. And the camera was actually in pretty bad shape when I first got it. Everything worked. Everything was working properly. I made sure to run it and check it. There wasn't too many actuations on it too, so that was another good thing. But the lenses were in really bad shape. This one right now has a little smudge on it too that I'm gonna fix eventually. I don't know if you guys can see it right there. That's a mold on the inside of the lens. I gotta fix that one. I already fixed this one. This one I already took apart and cleaned, so there's no mold on the inside of it. It's a little bit of fingerprint though. I gotta clean that off. But yeah, maybe I'll do a video on that, on how to clean the mold out of this part of the lens. Maybe I'll make a video on that to show you guys. But anyways, yeah, so it was in rough shape. I mean, these things were super dirty. It was sticky. It like had some kind of like gunk on it. You can tell it wasn't well taken care of. There was all kinds of like mold on this. So I think they just had it like sitting somewhere in the bag, in some place that was damp, and mold just decided to grow on everything. But it didn't take much to clean it. I just used some isopropyl alcohol to wipe it up and give it a nice clean, and everything came out pretty well. There you can see there's still some. This is a spot that I couldn't get out. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it was the plastic was just corroding there, but there was mold all over this, all over the rubber, and I thought the rubber was I wasn't going to be able to salvage it. I was actually looking up how to replace the rubbers, but after I gave it a good IPA wipe and let it sit overnight, and I did it again the next day, now the rubber is perfectly fine. Like, it feels normal. It's not sticky or tacky or anything. Like, you know how rubber gets tacky over time when it's not used? This one is totally fine, not sticky at all. So yeah, this is probably the best deal I ever got on Facebook Marketplace. And I do buy a lot of other things too, but I just wanted to focus mainly on cameras today. Maybe I'll do another video on any other finds I get. But yeah, so this is the camera that I've been using lately to shoot most of my videos in. Right now I'm doing it on my phone, only because, you know, I'm showcasing the cameras at this time. If you haven't watched the first video, you should go back if you want to see how these cameras perform video-wise. There's several shots I shot through those cameras and explained the camera, the quality of the video and all of that other stuff. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. So this one, the Canon EOS T5i, it's a really good camera to get. If you can find a T6 or a T7, I would pick those. Do your research though. I don't know how those are. I did my research on the T5i and it led me more towards the just get it than the avoid it thing. So anything below the T5i, I wouldn't bother. Like the T4i and the T3i, don't even bother unless you can get it for under $100. Don't bother. But if you see this camera or like the T6i or the T7i for like under $200, it would be worth it to pick it up. Even this one would be worth to get under $200. It's a great camera to work with. The video quality is beautiful on it. And I tried one of my other Canon lenses on it, from the higher end lenses, and it takes very crisp and beautiful pictures, like comparable to the higher end cameras that are released around the same time as this one. This is, like I said, more like the learner beginner side of cameras is the T5i series. I believe they give them like hundreds names in other countries. Like, I think this is like the 500 or 600D or 700D or something like that. But here they go by the T5i. But anyways, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you for watching. I hope this gives you guys some encouragement to check out the Facebook Marketplace. I mean, no sense dropping like $700 on a brand new camera when you can go on the Facebook Marketplace and find one for half, sometimes a quarter, or even less of that original price. So yeah, you guys have a wonderful day.